Yeah, it seems like a crossword's probably pretty wholesome generally. Yeah, one thing that I've found, I think in the last year with my practice is really helpful for me in this kind of sense is that I was asking monastics, like I kind of was hearing in Dhamma talks, people saying like, enjoy your breath, like cultivate gladness, and I was like, is that really legal? Like, is that allowed? Because I don't know, my first experience with Buddhism might have been Zen or some other way where I thought it was much more passive and much. And so I had to ask a couple different monastics, like, is this like, I've read about this or whatever, and can I just enjoy my breath? It's almost like, I mean, I felt like it's like almost like a sensual pleasure. Like in my mind, it was like equivalent to like smoking or something. Like I can just do this thing. Like that's so helpful. And so, yeah, I got that repeatedly, people saying, yes, like you can definitely, you need all the help you can get, go for it if that's, and so, I mean, I might just be a fortunate or something, but I definitely feel pleasant feelings when I'm aware of my breath and my, and my body and stuff like that. So it's been super, super helpful to do that. And just like, now my meditation's kind of got that kind of refreshing feeling. And so that happens, maybe in the morning and at night. And so going through the day, I'm doing that more and more, kind of this continuity practice. And it's just been very, very helpful. And I feel like relating it to what we're talking about, maybe I'm a little bit less kind of needy in general, like if I have this kind of contentness, going on, so I'm not really needing attention in the same way, affection, I'm kind of giving myself these things. And so then when these, you get these like, advertisements or people or my own memories or worries about the future, these things keep coming up and keep coming, they're a little less alluring. And it's kind of like when you had a big meal and you're walking next to like a restaurant window, you're not jealous of the people inside, you're just, there they are, you're not looking to steal an apple or whatever. So anyway, not to be too long-winded, but I just wanted to share that because to me it was kind of revelatory and I didn't know it was allowed, and so it really changed my practice. And
that's great.
And I guess the official reference would be the Anapana Sutta. The Buddha is just like, cultivate rapture, cultivate joy in your breathing. So thanks for listening. Hope it wasn't too long-winded.
That was great.
Yeah.
It gave the opportunity for a lot of mudita to arise. That's great. And yes, the Buddha talks about this in so many places, in so many ways, about cultivating happiness, developing piti, that sense of spiritual uplift and joy. And it's really essential that piti is in all these lists of how do you get to samadhi. It's so much a part of it. I've been reading the Theragatha, the verses of the enlightened monks, and there's one where the Buddha says to this monk, here you are, you're living in the wilderness, and you don't even get enough food and other requisites. How are you doing it? And he said, I'm just having piti all the time. Just like, I am just like happy with, within, and exactly what you're saying, Tom. And, this is how, he said, this is how I do it. This is how I endure it. And if we think like that, then any kind of life circumstance, not absolutely, because we do need a certain level of comfort and support with the requisites. I mean, the Buddha made that clear too. But other things that might really take a toll on us don't have so much impact, like you said. So thank you for sharing that.
I just felt like I needed to share that while you were giving the guided meditation, I had a kind of an insight that I think was very valuable for me. That, you know, in looking at the kinds of things that my mind keeps going to, especially in meditation, I had sort of already identified that most of them have to do with desire. But at some point you said something and it just clicked for me that there's something underneath that. And what that something seems to be is a real, I guess I would say, a fear of impermanence. And it's like, why do, like, I'll go to these stories and I don't want to come out of them because those feel lasting and you know, they have substance. And it got me thinking about something that somebody said here a week ago or a couple of weeks ago about doing housework. I mean, it went from one extreme to the other. I thought, well, and that's why I hate to clean, because I'll be cleaning and I'll realize I'm going to have to do this again. And that makes me crazy that I can't clean it and it doesn't stay clean. And then then I started thinking about little things at work. I mean, I won't go into all the details. And it's like almost, I think at the bottom of almost everything is this desire for everything to stay solid. It's the best way I can put it. And it's just something that I need to continue to look at. I think I feel like I dropped a level of depth in this meditation, and I have to thank you for that.
That's great.
I also want to add one thing. I want to say hello to Tom and Alexandra, who I just met last week at a Baigiri. It's nice to see you again.
Nice. I always love to hear that people have been to Baigiri. That's great. Well, that's great, Neil. Yes. I think that exploration could lead to some very profound results. Thank you for sharing that. Val?
Hi. I'm not sure where my thoughts are going to go here with my commenting on this, but I did feel the need to comment. This is the third or fourth time I've had this sutta presented to me, and it's one that's very close to my heart because I work in the entertainment industry, and I've done live theater, and I've worked with ballet companies. I've worked on rock concerts and conventions and political rallies. So yeah, I remember the first time that I heard about the sutta, it was actually from you and I at Chitananda. And I remember being kind of shocked and dismayed. And then part of me going, wow, because it was when I was a new Buddhist, and that was a little bit of like, well, yeah, that's from a long time ago. And but I did reflect on it, and then I think there's definitely something to creating a fake world. And you're creating a world that is encouraging greed and hatred and delusion. Absolutely. It's hard for me to say that because it provides my requisites.
Yeah.
It hasn't during the pandemic, it hasn't provided any requisites whatsoever because the industry's been shut down. But it's ironic that you that this was presented to me today, because last night I got my first call back to work for a rock concert.
Oh.
Yeah, and for Guns N' Roses, and I'm like, wow, what do they stand for? What am I going to be partly responsible for putting out in the world? And it's my job does well providing my requisites, but I can't say that I've been happy doing it in the last 2 or 3 years. Well, 3 or 4 years, I've been somewhat unhappy doing it. I miss the days when I worked with a ballet company, and at least I knew, like, this is a reflection I've done, is, well, at least I was putting joy and beauty out in the world as well as delusion, but there was at least some joy and beauty. And a lot of rock concerts, there's not, I mean, sometimes you see joy in people's faces in the audience, but there's a lot of greed. There's a lot of promoting greed, and maybe not promoting hatred, but definitely promoting unwholesome things, for sure. Lost, like you mentioned. So yeah, it's interesting to be at this point in my life and hear this sutta again. It really makes me think. It makes me sad.
So I think I should tell you about the end of the sutta, because after the Buddha tells, by the way, the name of the sutta is Talaputta, Talaputa, and it's 42.2 in the Samyutta Nikaya. And after Talaputta hears the Buddha say this, he bursts into tears. And the Buddha says, I told you not to ask me this question. And he said, no, it's not because of what you said. It's because I've been fooled for so long by these teachers of teachers telling me this. And I've like bought into it for so long. And then he asks the Buddha if he will ordain him. And he gets the full ordination, and he, not long afterwards, becomes enlightened. And this morning I was really, I found, just kind of on accident, because I've been reading the Therigatha, his verses. And we've actually read them before, but I didn't realize it was him. He wrote these verses where they start with, hey, mind, you're the one who wanted me to go to the forest. You're the one who wanted me ordained as a monk. Hey, mind, why don't you want to meditate now, huh? Hey, mind. It's a really lovely, very, very authentic, genuine. And of course, he does become enlightened. And so super happy ending. So, we need to put more of that out into the world, I guess.
Yeah, that's a very happy ending, and I'm very glad for that happened to him. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Forrest.
Hi, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
I don't have that much, but I just thought, since you had asked about this topic, I definitely resonate a lot with nature as something that calms the kilesas, and I've been kind of using that because I find it pretty hard living in a city by comparison, not just the people on the street and the restaurants, but also even the buildings. I feel like for me, kind of give rise to, I don't know, delusion or something, certainly not calming. So, and since this past week, sensual desire is like the main hindrance, well, at least one of the main hindrances I've been working with. I find that sometimes just like imagining myself like sitting in the middle of a bunch of trees or mountains really helps. So I am Yeah, and I've also been experimenting with a practice for the past 10 days, which just ended now, of not using internet after 3 p.m. except for like Dharma talks. And that has been pretty helpful, I think, in just not, it's almost like, for me, actually, it's not even so much that the internet triggers the defilement as it is more that if the mind knows that it can go on the internet, then it starts flaring up even before I go onto the internet. So just not having that option has been really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great practice. Ajahn Gunha actually told us, don't use the internet for anything but Dhamma.
Mm.
He said, you don't have to be looking things up all the time.
Yeah.
He's totally clued in, he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been so many times where I thought I was looking up something pretty innocuous and then just like completely spiraled out of control. Another
one thing leads to another.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we don't have much time, but I was wondering if you have a hard stop at 1:30, or I can ask another kind of unrelated question.
I think you could ask one more question, and then I want to hear from Harry too.
Okay.
Stop.
I was just kind of intrigued because this morning I've been reading some of the stories of the disciples of the Buddha, and this morning I was reading about the first two householders who took refuge in the Buddha and the Dhamma. It's really interesting because I guess like all of the disciples, they made an aspiration apparently eons ago to like become the first lay disciples of the Buddha. But I'm curious if you have any thoughts on why someone would do that. Like for me, my understanding is just starting to evolve of like why you would want to become a Buddha, because I didn't feel like I used to understand, but even so, I don't understand why you would want to become the first disciple of the Buddha, first lay disciple.
Yeah, I don't really see a particular value in being the first kind of in that way. I mean, there are a lot of stories, of course, this is all commentarial, I think, probably. And there are, a lot of stories about the aspirations that various disciples of the Buddha made in the past. And usually they're attributed to the bhikkhus or the bhikkhunis, someone who's, made this aspiration to be reborn at the time of the Buddha and be a disciple of the Buddha. And of course, there's some real benefit in that. If we could live at the time of the Buddha and learn from the Buddha, surely that's going to be a very important factor in full awakening. But to kind of be the first lay disciples, I don't think I get what the particular value of that is. And I don't really know. I imagine that it's commentarial, and I'm not really sure if we can put a lot of faith in that as truly what happened. But, perhaps just the aspiration that's wholesome to be close to the Buddha, and maybe the point of being a lay disciple is that they can provide requisites and, support to the Buddha. But yeah, I don't really know. Beyond that, I don't really know. I think stick with the aspiration to become enlightened.
Yeah, sounds good.
I mean, I didn't see anywhere where the Buddha recommended to people to have an aspiration to be born at the time of the next Buddha.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, get enlightened now, Yeah.